Hey everyone, Cole here, and today I'm going to be talking about The Strange Case of Starship Iris, created by Jessica Best and is part of the Procyon Podcast Network. I'm also going to be doing this in between thunderstorms, because apparently that's all the weather has wanted to do today, so this review might be a little bit short. Starship Iris is a sci-fi thriller about a group of ragtag space pirates and one very out-of-place scientist trying to uncover the mystery behind the destruction of Starship Iris. I did listen to the entire season, but this review will mainly be focusing on the first 3 episodes, so let's get into it. Voice acting. So the voice acting overall is pretty good. I don't have a lot to say about it. The whole team meshes extremely well, and they all sound like long time friends. Cindy Chu, who voices Violet Liu, and Ashani Tanak Carr, who voices Kay Grisham, are fantastic singers. Cindy does awkward and nervous extremely well, and I adore everything Ashani does. She is perfect at snarky and sarcastic, and honestly, I could do an entire video about how much I enjoy her work. Sound design. In all honesty, the sound design could have been done better. Some characters sounded muffled or further away from the mic. Sometimes levels were a little bit all over the place. And despite a few spaceship takeoffs and world building, there wasn't a whole lot done to give the world and podcast in general a spacey atmosphere. Not a whole lot of beeps and boops and the things you would normally expect to hear on a spaceship. Diversity. Starship Iris is diverse. There are a few people of color on the cast, and it features mostly queer relationships. I will note that they did make their only non-binary character the alien, which is not a super great trope in terms of representation. But thankfully, there was a trans-mass character, and apparently one of the characters is Ace, but you wouldn't really know that unless you followed the creator on social media. They did try to tackle space racism, and while they do hit the mark in the end, they certainly kind of stumble through it a little bit. So my final thoughts. Starship Iris is cute. And I know that sounds like an insult, but it's really the best way I have to describe it. There's mystery and intrigue, but also it's really gay and features a lot of really sweet relationships. These characters get put through the ringer in all of the ways you'd expect in a space pirate genre. It was pretty easy to binge, but I think if I wasn't stuck inside for months at a time thanks to the current general hellscape right now, I probably wouldn't have finished the series. It doesn't really do a whole lot to bring space to life. They go through the general motions of a spaceship and different planets and aliens, but besides a very, very cool floating space entity, the soundscape didn't really make me feel particularly immersed in the story. It may be that I've worked on and listened to quite a few sci-fi podcasts, but I don't feel as though they did a whole lot to differentiate themselves from the overall genre. I also want to mention their issue with credits and crediting their cast. It took me far too long to find out who voiced these characters. Let me run you through it. So, I found this show through Twitter. The link in their bio leads me to their Radio Public page. If we go to a random episode, I'll scroll through and get to the first one. There are no characters listed in their bio. So let's go back. Their website brings us to their Spreaker page. Still no information. If we click on an episode, there's a link to their Kickstarter, but that is about it. So let's go back. On their Radio Public page, there is more information, and it tells us to go to Procyon Podcast /Starship-Iris. So let's do that. Doing so brings us to a 404 page. So, let's Google Starship Iris, and you can tell I've had to do this a couple times, Procyon Podcasts, which brings us to their Procyon Podcast page. So, we'll go to episodes. Episodes? Same thing. Still does not show us their cast list. So let's go to production pages. We scroll down. Finally, we get to their characters. Finally, I can find the cast list, but there are no bios, no links to social media, no nothing. I also have to point out their logo, which we'll throw up like right here-ish. The Strange Case of Starship Iris, created by Jessica Best. It is frustrating to me that her name is plastered across this logo, but it takes me 5 minutes to figure out who voices your main characters. Please, producers, give credit where credit is due. Hell, even your fandom wiki doesn't give credit to your cast. It is unacceptable that you do not tell us easily who is voicing who. I pulled up this podcast and was like, oh, I recognize that voice. That has to be a Shawnee. That's a Shawnee, right? I go to their show notes. It's not there. I have to Google for 5 minutes how to get to your cast list. And it is unacceptable in this day and age. Put them in your show notes. Put them in your Twitter or something. Make it easily accessible. Show me how to get to all of your other cast members so I can figure out more work that they've done so I can listen and support your cast members. Sorry, that was a rant I had to go on. It is so easy to give credit where credit is due. Please do it. If you would like to go and listen to this podcast, you can find them on Twitter at Starship Iris. If you would like to find their website without doodling for it for 5 minutes, go to procyonpodcastnetwork.com/TSCOSI. Thank you all so much for listening, and I will be back in a couple of weeks. All right. Take care. Bye.